Okay, so we get back to what we are going through, which is with all the things that a teacher, meditation teacher, will have to deal with if a meditation teacher is a meditation teacher, because it teaches what he teaches or he teaches. And really, it's one of the main reasons of this organization, which is to teach meditation, the meditation techniques and the spiritual practices that we've been given, because in reality this society is in need of it. I mean, it's really in need of it. In my sincere and honest opinion, we are like with the climate in the 11th hour. The solution is not going to come through the climate accord. Let me take this out of the internet so that it doesn't advise me on new limits. What will change the course of things in this world that is, going through a challenging time, let's put it that way, challenging time, is, Guruji repeated this many times, and in fact, somehow he says the same thing in every satsang, is through the opening of the heart. It is also through, when we get initiated in the individual mantra, if you get initiated and they translate you the prayer, in the prayer it is said something like, I'm paraphrasing now, but let us be led in the path of devotion and grace. Devotion and grace, the path of devotion and grace. What that means is that the only way you can forget about your little I, think about it, is because in your mind only he fits it. That's the way it works. That's the way it has always worked. But not everybody has that yearning, and definitely if you are a teacher and you exercise as a teacher, somehow you have that yearning. But you will get many people that what they have is problems in life of every type: fear, guilt. We've gone through fear, right? We've gone through guilt, and in every of these things that we've gone through, which are based on satsangs of Guru Raj, practical teachings are given. For example, in the case of guilt, you remember the satsang last week, in this website, I am planning that it can be done sometime. My idea is put all this material in a way that it is easily accessible by teachers to use it for themselves and to then explain it, or to use it directly in a class, for example. But guilt, if you remember, the process of taking or freeing yourself from guilt from the last class is based on first go back to the moment, because you feel guilty because of something that has happened in the past, a behavior that you had in the past, or something of that nature that maybe brought consequences that were no good, and you feel guilty about it because that behavior of yours, you know, brought this situation of today. And as you remember, the steps were: first, you do a little bit of an analysis. You look at yourself and you go back to those days that your behavior was such, and you analyze the chemistry of your mind. What did you say to yourself about life? What did you say to yourself about yourself? How did you interpret the circumstances? How did your mind, when it woke up in the morning, in those days, what kind of interpretation did of the circumstances that it was living in? What kind of interpretation it did? What is it that that mind thought at those times? You should stay still so that you don't take the concentration of anybody. What is it that that at those times, you know, you interpreted your circumstances? What is it that you thought that you had to change? What was the chemistry of your mind, and what was operating there when you woke up in the morning? And then the next part of the analysis is what were the circumstances as you remember them those days. And doing this analysis properly, you will find that with that chemistry in the mind and with those circumstances, you really could not do any other thing. Now, how do you implement this, for example, with a person in a particular moment? I will give you an example of how it can be done. It can be done speaking, because you can sit with that person and you can do counseling if it's a one-to-one situation. And you know, you, just by speaking and asking and taking her back or him back to those situations, you work in that direction. But you can also, you know, put them to lie down, make them a variation of a yoga nidra, a little bit of relaxation, moving your fingers, rotating, a little bit of relaxation and a little bit of body scan, then the attention in the breath, and then you just guide them. Now go in your mind, in your memory to those days and think, find, how was your bed? What was your room like? How do you remember your bed? You take them to memories that they can get of those days. The bed they slept, how was the room, and try to get them to any morning those days, or if it was something that happened one day, that day, and you get them. They will, if it was something of one day, they will have for sure good memory of it. Yeah.
Are you saying we do this with a student when we're teaching?
What I'm saying is that your students will come with all sorts of problems, and you have to learn to deal with
individually.
them.
Okay.
To Guru Raj came people with all sorts of problems, and he dealt with of them individually. We show individual techniques, which means that we teach, you know, the fundamental basic techniques, then an individual mantra, but we also give some sort of individual help. But, you know, you have to be creative. Within course that you put together, you can very well put a session of, you know, you are teaching them the prep technique. You are teaching them Tratak, you are teaching them pranayamas, but you are teaching them the teachings of Guru Raj also. It's not only the techniques, it's the teachings. The teachings are very valuable because these teachings are not only very, very subtle, and that's why, you know, I'm sure that, you know, sentences of Guru Raj will be interpreted in different ways throughout time because they have so many meanings. And probably most of you have had the experience of listening or reading a satsang today and comparing it to what you understood a few years ago or a month ago or whatever, and you see the difference, the different levels of meaning that it has. You know? So, for that respect, that's a jewel that we have, and we teach the techniques, but we teach the teachings also. In that respect, one has to be, how do you say, competent with the teachings, in the sense that listening satsang, listening this, listening that. But also in a structured way, because you know, for example, for today, that as we are dealing with mind and emotions, I have a little satsang of Gururaj about anger. We saw guilt, we saw fear. I'm using satsangs of Gururaj, but you can use the satsang and explain it, or you can make it into a technique. Because in the same way you can explain this to a group of people, you can say, okay, now I have explained it, and now we are going to do a practical experience. Lie down. And you tell them to lie down, and everybody feels guilty for something. I mean, if it's a class of people that are starting to meditate, you can be sure everybody, and if there is one that doesn't feel guilty, it's either because he's a thug,
Sociopath.
a sociopath, or a very advanced person, but then it's rare that he would be in your class.
Good question.
Anyhow.
Yeah. You say, you know, we should try and get, you know, somebody who comes to us to remember a day or the thing they're going. What if it's not an adult? What if this guilt goes back to childhood? How do you get
well,
back there?
You know, it's all samskaras over samskaras. It could go, you know, back to even other lifetimes. Yeah, but it is expressed. However back it goes,
Right.
it is expressed today.
Right.
As a guilt I feel today,
Right.
which will be related to a specific event in the past.
Specific event.
So that
Okay.
is the beginning of the string. You have to pull from the beginning, and then
So
the
what's
rest,
your earliest?
the rest of the thing might come back.
What's your earliest memory of this guilt?
The
day?
main thing is freeing people from guilt, not making them more guilty.
Right.
So the main thing is, first, what you would want to achieve by a technique like this is making them realize. If you want, you know, as I'm going to continue, one day I will do it with you. You will lie down and I will guide you, and I will show you how you can realize, but realize it not because they tell you, because you realize it, that with that chemistry, that your mind was working then without you being able to do any other thing.
Right.
And in those circumstances, I mean, it was a machinery. Because unless you are liberated, you are a machine, a conditioned machine. In fact, you are not the conditioned machine. You are that within you that is free. But while you are identified with the conditioned machine, then if you identify yourself with the conditioned machine, well, it's not that you are a conditioned machine. It is that you are living that instead of the free being that is within you.
Okay.
So, and that is how I started, you know. The only way to forget about yourself, which is that conditioned machine, is devotion. Because tell me another way. Non-dualists speak about a lot of the observer. It's too abstract. Doesn't have the emotion required. It could be a ego bolster. Really, that method, I don't agree with it, because in my interpretation of how mind works and how these things are, except in maybe rare cases, but how these things are taught, it could be an ego booster, because it's like another you but higher. So it's like it is, you still have a, when the subject, the object, and the act of perceiving is one thing. In other words, the manifestor and the manifestation are one thing. You cannot separate them. You cannot separate them. So, as one non-dualist teacher had in his room, where he taught, I think it was Ramesh Balsekar, that he was I think he was a disciple of Nisargadatta. He had that, while there is a me, may I not forget thee. Exactly. So that while I have a sensation of a me, please let me not forget thee, because thee are the only one that will make me forget about me. If not, he will not forget. Obviously, that's the direct path. But people get, stuck with their angers, with their fears, with their guilt, and that's where an individual action has to be taken, but also areas where Guruji gave practical teachings, practical philosophy. So it's meditation techniques and spiritual practices. And the meditation techniques are the 20 minutes meditation that we do morning and evening, and the spiritual practices are practiced throughout the day in the different circumstances. And we have from Guru Raj, a very detailed map. So nobody can do the path for you, but you have a very detailed map to move through all those things. And for example, guilt is one of them. And this, for example, this technique works very well. First, you make them realize that they are guilty without guilt, right? Then you get them to go deeper and try to find if they have hurt someone. Because many people feel guilty because of what they are, because of social conventions, because of peer pressure of other people, but they have not in reality hurt anybody. It's like feeling guilty because you are gay and your mother got such depression after finding it out that she was the rest of her life depressed. Well, you have not done anything to your mother for being gay, right? So you have to help people also to realize that many times we feel guilty unnecessarily, because we are just feeling guilty for social conventions or peer pressure. But we have, in reality, if you analyze it well, not done anything against anybody or hurt anybody beyond what they have hurt themselves, like in the example, using you as an excuse. But that's the part of auto-analysis. And sometimes you might have hurt someone. So you guide them in this process while they are lying down, and then if you have found that you have hurt nobody, just forget about it, let it go. If you have found that you did hurt somebody, no problem. Proactive repellment, amend things. If you have, if you robbed your partner, phone him and tell him that you are going to pay him back. If he died, phone the family and pay back the family. And if he had no family, help people that are starting business to, pay back what you have taken out of life. Proactive repentance. And in that very same, exercise, you make them visualize what they are going to do to pay back, and you can get a group of people after that class that at least they have realized that they are guilty without guilt. Some of them will have realized that they were guilty because of social conventions, and some of them will have realized what they have to do to repay back what, the impossible harm that they could have made. And you combine this with an explanation of what is karma, the law of action, of all these things, how the mind works, this, that, the other, because the understanding that you give them, plus the practices and the experiences that are, attached to all this, it's the way that people overcome all these problems in reality.
What did you call it? Proactive what?
Repentment.
Repentment.
Repentment, yeah.
Repentance.
Repentance. Repentance. Proactive
Proactive
repentance.
repentance.
Any other questions?
Well, can you go over the anti-Matilda again?
Yeah. We are going to, in fact, we are speaking about anger now.
Okay.
And the anti-Matilda practices, which are the very important practices. In fact, I have a video about anger from Guru Raj that I will put as part of the explanation. The anti-Matilda practices are very, very much focused when we get angry with someone. And we tend to get angry with people. Normally we get angry with people that are close to us, one way or another, that are related to us, one way or another. So the anti-Matilda practices, we use them to deal with these angers that we get with people. There is one very simple way this was directly taught by Guru Raj. There are many other ways that you can look at. I teach in my classes and I use in my classes the method of the 4 questions of Byron Katie. I don't know whom of you know that. Okay, you know that, you also know it. You don't? Well, we can do it now if you want. But basically the idea behind this, when you are angry or mad with someone, in reality what is happening is that you are mad with you, but you are not realizing that. You think it's the other person. And so you get mad and emotional and outraged, and you are unable to realize that in reality you are looking at yourself and you are mad at you. So how to deal with these things? One is the basic concept that Guruji taught, which is balance out positive thoughts and negative thoughts. You are 15 seconds thinking a negative thought, spend the next 20 seconds thinking a positive thought. Now, this is a matter of discipline. One thing is to say it, and another thing is to practice it. Practicing it takes, a discipline and takes practice. So start doing it and learn how to do it. But if you practice it, little by little becomes part of yourself, and you just flow in that capability. So basically, you know, you are 15 seconds thinking back about this thing, you realize it because you are keeping awareness of your thoughts. You are keeping awareness of your thoughts. You know it is negative because it produces a contracting emotion. Could be anger, could be fear. You are feeling that something is going to happen, or you are, you know, it's a contracting experience. You know, which is something that contracts you. It makes you, how do you say this?
Tense.
Frown.
Frown.
Makes you frown, or press the mouth, or tense, and you have a feeling. You have a feeling associated with the thought. So the minute you realize that that is happening, you look at the thought. You obviously, through the meditation techniques, you little by little learn to look at the thought and take it with a pinch of salt, every thought. You know, like you look at the thought and you say, not this, not this. They say Nanya Yoga is neti, neti. Not this, not this. So you look at the thought and you say, and of the same thing you kind of, and what's the positive side? Once you get used to do this, it comes out naturally and very, very easy. At the beginning, it might be a little bit more complicated, but if nothing comes, you start repeating your mantra, or you repeat Guru Rashananda, you do Guru Shakti, or you know, you repeat Aim Krim Krim, or you sing. You just compensate a positive with a negative. But when we are angry with someone, the problem is that it is not 20 seconds. Is that we get angry and it goes on and on and on and on and on, and normally we are unable to stop it, and one has to learn to stop that. And once you learn to stop that, you will never get driven by it. You will be able to stop it in the first minute and a half. It starts to move and you have already stopped it. But when it goes for a period of time, and you realize, and this is something that you do when it happens, you don't do like, I'm going to do this today. No, you have to do it when it happens. These are practices that you apply in your day-to-day life. And you get angry at 10:25 that day because a phone call you receive, and creates that anger in you. And that anger lingers for, say, 35 minutes. Normally it's anger with someone. Normally you get angry in this kind of mode with somehow close people. Could be family, husband, daughters, parents, business acquaintances, people that are close. Because people that are not so close, you don't linger so much. So, if that is the case, and you've been 25 minutes angry with Auntie Matilda, the practice is, Auntie Matilda said something terrible to me that morning. And I go out of the house and I say, fucking Auntie Matilda, so good, I've been with her all the time. What she's done. And you go on and on and on and on, right? And you suddenly find out that you've been there for the last, say, 35 minutes. You find out because when you get into that motion, you don't even realize, and you cannot really stop it because it is a mechanism that it starts going. But eventually that day, you know, it happens at 10:25. Eventually that day at 10:45, you have to change mode because you have arrived to work or your son has arrived, and suddenly that interruption that happens from outside also makes you aware, if you are keeping your awareness of yourself during the day, that for the last 45 minutes you've been obsessed with antimateria. So then, at that very moment, you have to make an agreement with yourself, which is, okay, I'm very unhappy with antimateria. She's an asshole. But now I have other things to do. So, you put her in one side, and you make an agreement with you that you are going to sort out the situation before the end of the day. But for the moment, you leave it aside, because normally you will have other things to do. And the energy will be there, but you've put it in one side. In other words, you do not repress the energy, you want to allow it to go out little by little. So, you put it in one side so that the mind and all the annoyed that you are with Auntie Matilda, you know, you don't feel that you are going to lose that annoyment, because yes, you should be annoyed, but you put it in one side. You continue your day. But you find, if you have found that you've been 20 minutes, in this example, obsessed with Auntie Matilda, you find at least 30 minutes that day to get back to Auntie Matilda problem again. So say that you decide that you are going to do that because at 5 you finish, and then you are going to walk because it's a very nice day in, how do you call this park? Rochester?
Yeah.
Rochester Park.
Rockefeller.
Rockefeller Park. Rockefeller Park. It's a good practice to do it walking, a sort of contemplative walking. Now, what you have to do is that Auntie Matilda, you know, once you know the time comes and you are going to dedicate those 30 minutes to arrange the situation, you will first recover your annoyment. You are annoyed with Auntie Matilda, so you let that energy come up and let it be, realizing that it is your anger, that it's something that you have inside, and you just let that anger come out a little bit, and then you do the following exercise, which is, first, tell your mind and teach your mind that obviously Auntie Matilda must have good things in her, because it is impossible that it's only bad. When we are angry with someone, normally we are not able to see any good in the other person. We only see bad things. You know by experience, right? When you are angry with someone, you only see bad things. But obviously, birds of a feather flock together. So if it is in your life, it cannot be neither more good, neither more bad than you. It will be of the same kind of level, because we are all the same in any case. And everybody's have something good. So, as everybody has something good, what you are going to do in your contemplative walk is look for the good memories you have of Auntie Matilda in your mind, because you will have them. So, you know, if it is a family, from the time you remember. If it is a person, from the moment you met that person. And so on and so forth. You go to your first memories of that person. You start walking, you can use your inner voice, and you go to the first memories of that person, to the first good memories that you have of that person. You pick that first good memory, and you walk it temporarily, you know. Okay, for example, if it is your couple, you pick the first memory, when I met him, the first time we went out, the first birthday we had together, the first trip, you know, you start, you know, picking all those memories, this one and that one, and you just go in following a timeline. You keep, and as you walk, for, you know, if you've been 25 minutes angry with that person, for 30 minutes in total, doing the exercise. What happens if you do this, and it has to do with how the mind works, is, first of all, that you are filling your anger with kindness. And kindness dissolves anger. Second, that you are providing flexibility to your thought so that, you know, you are angry, you were angry for this thing, but you've been recovering all these good memories, and by recovering all those good memories, you are kind of flooding that anger with the energy associated with these good memories. And this energy associated with these good memories is kind of light to understand the situation. So probably by the time you finish your walk, your 30-minute walk, you not only are no longer angry with Auntie Matilda, you also understand why Auntie Matilda behaved the way she behaved. And if your anger for Auntie Matilda dissipates, and you have the understanding of her behavior, what happens also is that synchronically, Auntie Matilda also understands her behavior, also understands you, and you know, and when you come back home, the first thing Auntie Matilda tells you is, I'm so sorry for what happened this morning. That's how it works. And the proof of the pudding is in the trying. This is the Auntie Matilda practice that with different interpretations or in different ways, Guruji taught, which is based in compensated in time-based system. You know, 25 minutes angry, 30 minutes doing the contrary. Now, another thing that Guruji taught is also in many ways, in many satsangs, is whenever a thought brings you unhappy feelings, whenever a thought brings you negative emotions, ask yourself if what you are thinking is true. Because we suffer because we think that what we think is true, is the truth, or is reality. When in reality, thoughts are thoughts, not the reality. And one of the things one has to learn is treat thoughts as thoughts, not as reality. Because reality interpreted as actuality, so interpreted as the only place where we share a reality, which is here and now, you tell me, I mean, what is the problem in any here and now that you can imagine? What is the problem? In any here and now, and imagine the worst of them. It will only be an adventure. It will only be an experience that is existing by itself, by the way. So moment by moment we suffer because what we think, not because of what is happening here and now, because think about your heres and nows throughout the years. You know, have you been under torture? Those are extreme cases, no? Even under torture, you can't go beyond it, you know, although those are extreme cases. No, you know, every here and now has been fine for you. You've had nice food, probably. You've always had a car to drive. You've always had, you know, a surrounding that is nice. You probably always had people to speak, because we speak with other people. Well, you know, the only problem is what? The only problem is the interpretation your mind was making about that simple thing. And learning to treat thoughts and thoughts, and learning to discard things you believe to be true, particularly when they hurt you, is a process of asking yourself, is this thing that I am believing to be true, true? And ask it yourself, you know, well. Here is where the method of Byron Katie works nicely. I learned it from Rupaji. And, you know, she taught it to me, and, you know, when I learned it from her, I was believing something completely blindly, and the method made me realize that I was just projecting myself like in a mirror. I just had to see that once to not do it again. So, you know, it's a method that is quite good if you transmit it well, which probably has to do that you have somehow realized that what makes you suffer is that you believe that your thought is true. You are believing your story, as Byron Katie says. You are believing that interpretation instead of believing nothing, which is just experience. So it is based on 4 questions. Who doesn't know this method? You?
No, I don't
The
know.
Byron Katie method? You know it?
No.
Okay, you are all interested, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So let us put an example with someone. Who here in this room has an anti-Matilda that is near in time, that anti or aunt, or it's anti, aunt, and uncle. Anti-Matilda or Uncle Matthew. Who here has an Auntie Matilda or an Uncle Matthew, recent, not something bad in the past, something recent that you get angry easily, and that when you get angry, it lingers for more than 20 minutes, many times even for days? No? Okay, so you are advanced.
We're very serene.
You've already gone beyond that one.
I killed Matilda.
You killed
So I'm good.
Anyway.
Okay, I'll do one if he wants.
Eh?
I can do one.
You have one?
Yeah, who pushes my buttons? This answer
Someone that
Matilda.
pushes yours. Okay. Normally when we
It's
get
old patterns. It doesn't
when we
bother
get
me.
angry with someone,
Doesn't bother.
it's always because we
My mother.
believe, when we get angry with someone, it's always because we believe that their behavior is not right, that they should behave in another
Right.
way. You get angry with your daughter, why? Because her behavior is not what it should be, and you believe that to be true. So this anti-Matilda exercise and this 4 questions exercise is whenever you think that the behavior of someone is not the behavior that should be. We all have anti-Matildas of that kind, and I'm sure of that.
Yes.
But we will continue with you. So, what is it that this, first of all, is Auntie Matilda or Uncle Matthew?
This is Auntie Matilda.
Auntie Matilda, okay. So tell me, what are the things that Auntie Matilda does, behaves? What is the behavior of Auntie Matilda that should not be what it is? So tell me, Auntie Matilda should not or should da da da. Describe me what behavior we need to correct in Auntie Matilda?
Auntie Matilda should be a little grateful and not constantly complain.
Auntie Matilda
We're videotaping this.
Auntie
I hope she ain't listening.
Matilda should not complain. Okay, more.
Auntie Matilda should be appreciative and not put guilt.
Auntie Matilda
On little Maddie.
should not put guilt into people. Auntie Matilda should be appreciative, no?
Yes, Auntie Matilda should.
Appreciative. More.
Auntie Matilda should not create drama when there is no drama.
Auntie Matilda should not create. Okay. Auntie
Auntie
Matilda.
Matilda should not constantly talk about other people in a
Auntie
disparaging way.
Matilda should not
killer in the laboratory.
talk
Auntie Matilda needs a lot of work.
about
According to Auntie
Other
Matilda.
people.
Therapist
Sophia,
can't help her.
Come on.
She's tried.
Another one. The last one.
Okay. Let's see. Auntie Matilda should not talk
Judge.
about other people.
Shouldn't be so
Go back
Yes,
to what you
yes,
said when
Auntie
you are angry with her. Yeah.
Shouldn't be so judgmental.
Yes, yeah, Auntie Matilda is very judgmental.
Auntie Matilda should not be
Silly no. Remember that?
judgmental.
Oh, yeah.
Auntie Matilda needs some self-reflection. Auntie
Auntie
Matilda
Matilda
should
should-
help worry about herself versus
should
others.
do self
Reflection.
Got
reflection.
written.
Okay. Now,
Poor Auntie Matilda.
poor Auntie
No,
Matilda.
poor you.
No, poor you.
Rhonda,
How did you survive?
See Auntie Matilda, Rhonda.
Now, the way you do this,
It's my mother too.
It's every Jewish mother. Auntie Jewish mothers need to be evaluated.
okay, little by little. Now,
Not much different
when
from my Catholic.
when
Oh,
this
yeah.
happens, when this happens in your real life, what you do is that when it happens, instead of letting your mind blah 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 blah, you sit down, you try to find the time, you do the same, you put it in one side until you have the time that day. This is a matter of balancing each day. So don't worry about balancing the whole life. Just balance one day. So you find the time that day to do this. And then you sit down, you are angry with Auntie Matilda, and you take a piece of paper and you write it all with all your anger, not trying to be neither spiritual, neither nice, neither understanding. Just you put all that anger as it comes out. And then once you finish, you read.
What is it?
In
Once
this
you-
case,
What'd you say? Once you finish what?
Read.
You read.
Okay.
and then in this case, Auntie Matilda should be grateful. So Auntie Matilda is a person that is completely not grateful, doesn't say thank you neither for the coffee you bring her.
No.
Auntie Matilda should not complain. Auntie Matilda is complaining all day. Auntie Matilda should not put guilt into people. Oh, of course, Auntie Matilda is saying you are guilty, you should do this. Auntie Matilda should be appreciative. She doesn't appreciate anybody. Auntie Matilda doesn't appreciate. Auntie Matilda should not create drama, and on top of all that, she is making dramas about everything. Auntie Matilda should not talk about other people, and it's constantly talking about other people. Auntie Matilda should not be judgmental and judging them, not only talking about them, but judging them. Auntie Matilda should do self-reflection, and she thinks that she is in the truth. She doesn't look inside.
She's
a
enlightened
single moment.
besides that.
Now, the first question that arises here is, where did you buy this, Auntie Matilda? Can you get an exchange or a refund?
Compassion and love is my motto. Unconditional love.
Okay, now, you tell me, of these behaviors of Auntie Matilda, which is the one that makes you more mad, that makes you more angry, that really gets you going?
The ungratefulness. Just not grateful. She's beautiful.
Auntie Matilda should be grateful.
Right.
Her ungratefulness.
Yeah.
Right. That is what really gets
Yeah.
you going. Okay. So now,
Appreciative, grateful, whatever.
now we have, normally if you are doing it in the day that it happens, you write it all, you pick the one that makes you more angry, and if that is not enough, you go to the next. That makes you more angry, and you go doing the same process of the 4 questions to each of your thoughts of what should the other person, how should the other person behave. Now, close your eyes, Donna. Auntie Matilda should be grateful. Auntie Matilda should be grateful. Auntie Matilda should be grateful. Is this true, Donna?
No.
No. Okay. Now, second question. normally, you know, a person that does this for the first time will tell you
Say
yes.
yes, they
because
should.
They will be.
Exactly, yeah.
The second question is, Auntie Matilda, you continue with your eyes closed. Auntie Matilda should be grateful. Auntie Matilda should be grateful. Now, Donna, do you know what Auntie Matilda has come to learn to this life? Do you know the patternings and structures that operate in Auntie Matilda? Do you know the long term of Auntie Matilda's behavior? Do you know better than God that Auntie Matilda should be grateful? And normally they will
No.
say no, because
No, you
with
don't.
that 100% truth, you don't know. No. So, now, Donna, go in your memory to the moment, go and find in your memory an event that has happened in reality. Don't elaborate, just look for an event that did happen, that created in your mind the thought, Auntie Matilda should be grateful, and make you very angry. And look for that moment, right, in your mind, and tell me, when you believe in your mind that Auntie Matilda should be grateful, find in your memory moments that you were alone, that you were with yourself. You were making a coffee or having a tea, but this thought was in your mind and you were believing it. And tell me, when you believe this thought, how do you treat yourself? How do you prepare yourself a coffee? How do you take care of yourself? How do you behave with yourself when you believe this thought?
Not well, because
Not well. Auntie Matilda should be grateful. Auntie Matilda should be grateful. Keep yourself in your memory in that event that you have picked, and now look for moments that are in your memory in which you were with other people, but your mind had that thought and you were believing it. And that thought that was in your mind was there while you were with these other people. And tell me, when you believe the thought, Auntie Matilda should be grateful, how do you relate to other people? How do you behave with them? How do you treat them? How do you make them feel?
Well, I suffer when I have that thought. I don't know if
Just look, just think, find it from your memory. Get from your memory a moment
oh, angry, I guess.
that you have that thought, you have that emotion associated with the thought, and you are, I don't know, with your husband or with your son or with a friend. When that thought is active in your mind and you are believing it, how do you treat other people? How do you make them feel? Try to find it. How do you make them feel? Doesn't mean that you kick them, yes, but how do you make them feel? Try to find it. How do you treat them? How do you make them feel when you believe this thought?
Not different. It's more it's more inward, you know. It's not expressed with other people, more myself.
Okay, so
It's not.
are you aware of them? When that thought is there, are you very aware of them, or you are less aware of them?
Less aware.
Obviously. Obviously, if you have that thought and that thought is producing energy, they are perceiving it.
Right.
If you look in your memory, you will see that that's the case. So in reality, not well. So
Right.
continue, closing your eyes. Now, continue there. In this event that happened, a real event, in your memory, that made you think Auntie Matilda should be grateful. And look in your memory for moments that you were with Auntie Matilda where you were believing that Auntie Matilda should be grateful. Now, when you believe that Auntie Matilda should be grateful, tell me, how do you treat Auntie Matilda? How do you make Auntie Matilda feel? How do you behave with Auntie Matilda?
Become distant.
Distant. Okay. So, the first part of this process is, you can open your eyes now. The first part of this process is, I believe something, because normally they will tell you here yes. Okay.
Right.
I believe something because, you know, if it makes you angry, it's because you believe it. I believe something of which I am not certain, that makes me treat me bad, makes me treat more or less the same to others, and makes me treat bad the person. Right, now close your eyes. Now, go back to this event that really happened in your memory, and imagine yourself as a self that never ever entertained the thought Auntie Matilda should be grateful. In fact, you look at Auntie Matilda and you see how ungrateful she is, and you laugh because you think it is adorable. Okay, imagine yourself with that kind of thought, not with the thought you have, but with this other thought. You have never entertained this thought. Imagine yourself without this thought in the same circumstances, and tell me, in the same circumstances, without this thought, go in your memory through the three cases, with yourself, with other people, with Auntie Matilda. Without that thought, in the same circumstances, how would you have treated yourself and others, Auntie Matilda? Tell me.
Much better.
Much better, obviously. You know this is an obvious. Much better. So, the first thing we see here is that we believe something of which we are not certain, that is useless, and without believing it would have been easier and much better. So now close your eyes again. Now what we are going is to change initially Auntie Matilda for Donna. Donna should be grateful. Now, Donna should be grateful. Donna should be grateful. Now, Donna, look in your life, moments in different circumstances. Could be with Auntie Matilda, but could be also with your husband, with your children, with some friend. Look for moments in your life where you could say that the sentence, Donna should be grateful, is true. And look for 3 moments in your life, real, existing. You don't need to tell me the moment. Just when you find one, you tell me the first one. When you find another one, you tell me the second one. And when you find another, tell me the third one.
With the situation or with the person? So the person.
Look for moments in your life
Okay.
of things that have happened in your mind, that are there, stored in your memory, in which you could say of your behavior that Donna should have been grateful to that and you were not. And look for moments, you know, it could be with persons, it could be, I don't know, with, you name it. Look for moments where in your life, and find moments in your life, existing moments, where you could say that the affirmation, Donna should be grateful, is true. And look for 3 moments like this. 1, 2, and 3. You just tell me 1, when you find the first one, you don't need to tell me the situation. 2,
Oh, okay.
1. You have 1.
Mm-hmm. You want me to tell you?
No.
Just to get.
Go to the next one.
Okay. Okay.
2. The next one.
Okay.
3. Okay. So now, after you have found that, and you know, if you do this yourself and you are honest, you can not only find 3, you can find 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah,
7,
right,
8,
yeah.
9. Now, what is more true, or are both as true? That Donna should be grateful, or that Auntie Matilda should be grateful? What is more true, or are both as true?
They're both as true.
They are both as true. Exactly. And where is it that you can do something about it?
If I change my perception.
No. Where can you do something with gratefulness that is something that you can do?
Oh, that I personally can do?
Exactly.
Oh, I can be grateful for my mother.
Exactly.
Because
So
she
what
helps me
you
to
can
be
do
more
to
grateful.
be, what you can do to change this behavior means change your behavior.
Right, exactly.
Be grateful.
Exactly.
So, this is exactly what happens when we get mad about someone.
Right.
That we are reflecting outside something of what we are mad about ourselves. Because as I've been explaining you with all this, how the mind works, and you know, we could go more into detail, and you know, if we have the time and this continues, I pretend to go more into detail. It's just that, you know, you are just reflecting yourself.
Right.
You are surrounded by yourself. The impressions with which you know this world and the world that you are knowing grew together. They didn't grow separately. So it's just one thing working at the same time.
Yeah.
So, to finish, we will go now to the satsang.
In this exercise, were the 4 questions?
Yeah, the first, it is true. Second, is it 100% true? 3, when you believe it is true, how do you behave? How do you treat yourself? How do you feel with yourself? How you treat others? How you treat Auntie Matilda? In other words, you make the person analyze what happens when you believe that thought, and you ask that person to go to real memories without elaborating. 4, if you didn't have this thought at all, if that thought is something you had never entertained, in the same circumstances, how would have things gone? And if that analysis is done properly, things would have gone much better.
Wait, what was the 4th?
Yeah.
And then once,
Just look it up. It's
Hmm?
easier.
that's the 4th is,
Look it up.
if I didn't believe this thought,
I just wanted to get it quick in the note.
if I didn't believe this thought, in the same circumstances, how would have things happened? How would I have behaved with Auntie Matilda, with the other people, with myself? You do this to make them realize, to begin with, that by believing that thought, they are only hurting themselves and others. Because that's in reality what you are doing. You are hurting yourself and you are hurting others. You make them realize that. Second, you make them realize that without that thought, in the same circumstances, it could have gone much better. And third, you make them realize that the opposite, which is that you are reflecting yourself in it, that the opposite, that Auntie Matilda is not grateful, John is an arrogant, or my daughter does what she wants without asking anybody. And then you look at yourself and you say, well, it's exactly like me.
So in simplest form, it's really, if you become angry at somebody, you're just revealing an unhealed part of yourself.
More or less, yeah, we could say that when you don't like your circumstances, in reality, you are not liking yourself, because your circumstances reflect that patterning, which is not yourself. It's the clothes you are wearing.
Yeah,
Yourself,
the baggage you're carrying around.
in the deeper sense, is something different.
Yeah.
But to become one with that self, the path of devotion and grace, because it's only Him that can make you forget about you. If not, you never forget about you, because we all think that we are so important.
So?
I don't.
We're everything and nothing.
Right.
Okay,
Being
So-
is nothingness. Sorry.
this is a question they
I'm still angry.
asked Guru Raj.
Now you know you're angry at yourself.
No, I'm not. I'm angry at that person.
I may stop it from time to time to add something.
Make you feel totally angry.
The question about anger. For me, lately I've had a lot of anger come up that I haven't experienced in my whole life, and I'm not sure how to deal with it. My question is sort of, where does anger really come from, and how does one disperse it as harmlessly as possible?
Beautiful, beautiful. Anger is a product of oneself, and it is created by so many kinds of frustrations that one might have within oneself. So, the outward anger is just a projection of what you are all about, combined with all your inhibitions and frustrations, and you are not at one with yourself. So therefore, anger is important because it helps to gather you within yourself. Now I can take each and every one in a moment and make you feel totally angry. But that is not the solution. If I could shut your heart right away, yes, and make you feel more angry. It could serve a good purpose though, because you'd be releasing the pent-up emotions of yourself. So anger too has a great part to play in a person's life. But there's one thing to be remembered surely, is the control of anger. Control of anger does not mean the suppression of anger. Because by suppressing it, it only goes deeper and deeper down, and then it will erupt like a volcano. So let it out in bits and pieces. That's the way to do it. Because then the process will not hurt you so much by letting it out in bits and pieces instead of a vast explosion. So to make the process more simpler, more easier, you let it out little by little. As the old saying goes, if you feel angry, go and kick your dog. Huh? Poor dog. Why must it be kicked in any case? Huh? So, anger wells up because of pent-up emotions and feelings. But you can dissipate it step by step and very, very kindly. So when the kindness is mixed with anger, anger loses itself. If you want to be angry with anger and not with anyone else.
Which means use that energy of being angry to be angry with your anger, so that you can use that very same energy to do practices like these ones, which allow that anger out little by little and flooding it with kindness.
See how simple it is and how it works. I'm going to be bloody angry now. Jesus. What am I angry about? Huh? I'm angry about my anger. Do you see? So be angry with your anger and say, hey boy, who the hell is this? And then you start analyzing it, and you ask yourself, why have I been angry? Because anger is transitory. It's only for the moment. And after the moment of anger passes, you are in a totally different mode. And then in that mood you say, why was I angry? Was it unnecessary to lose my mind temporarily? That's how one views it. But why do it in retrospection? Do it at the moment. If your foot itches, scratch it. Huh? You scratch your anger and remove the itch, because that itch is a bitch. As soon as it says, oh, life's a bitch. That is the way to deal with it. And with a bit of patience and practice, you could deal with anger. For example, if I would swear now at Vidyaji or Rupaji, in one moment it will pass and I would ask myself, why did I swear them? Because this was not done or that was not done. When I know it will soon be done. I have been impatient with myself. I've lost the patience and become impatient. So that is how we deal with anger or any emotion that rolls up. Do you know when you make love to your wife or girlfriend, whatever, it is also an expression of a certain form of anger. Do you know that? Because that pleasure has the element of pain in it. But how to combine the two, how to reconcile it, there lies the art of love and of loving. Next question.
This applies also to communication, because thought and communication go together. And it's very easy. If you say a bad word to someone in the morning, make sure you say him 2 good words before the end of the day. And compensate it. Just learn to compensate a day. One day is so rich of events that eventually one day will be enough for you. And once that is happening, you start flowing in life.
What I'm really struck by, especially today with this practice, his practices are, I'm trying to find the right way to put it, he's calling upon us to always be in communication with ourselves
Right.
all day.
Yes.
Right.
Like, don't
24
lose
hours.
that communication
24.
with yourself.
Right.
Don't get sucked up into the life that you're floating. It's like you're, I don't want to use the word observer, but yeah, it's like he's calling on you to stay in touch with
Be in touch with
yourself,
yourself 4 day long.
your thoughts, your actions, your words.
Which, you know, the
Right?
Yeah.
really the most powerful and effective way to do that is bhakti yoga. Because if you keep yourself in the presence of God, you are always aware of all those things. And forgetful of your own little self until you forget completely of it. It's a matter of forgetting. Guruji used to say, forgetting is the greatest gift of God to men. You know, forget. To forget is the greatest gift because in last instance you have to forget of yourself. Which is the same parable of Jesus when the rich man goes, and what do I need to follow you? You know, forget about which you have to leave everything, which means forget about yourself or all your story. Forget all your story. Like Byron Katie would say, what would you be without a story? Without a story and without him, nobody. Without a story and with him, everybody. And as Guruji said, what do you want? Why do you want to be anything than everybody? Why you want to be nothing? Which is a little bit a fight with this duality thing that you are nothing. Yes, you are nothing, but in that nothing means everything exists, which is the absolute and the relative. They go together, and that is another very special and distinctive characteristic of the spiritual teachings that we carry with us in our blood through Guru Raj, and that really is distinctive because it is more all-encompassing, more practical, and more to the point, you know, it makes more sense if you want, intellectually speaking. And well, the most important thing is the Shakti, because the Shakti is the energy that changes, really, that changes or transforms the other person. The love that flows through you. And this love that flows through you flows through the techniques, through the spiritual practices, and eventually opens yourself up, opens your heart. And then with an open heart, you know, that Shakti flows, and without even thinking about it, you will be touching everybody around you and making an effect. And that's what we need. So, questions?
For a long time I've been angry at a friend for things that she's done to both myself and my husband. And I had a very good relationship with her at one time, and it resolved into just pure anger. And just listening to you today just made me feel how to get rid of it.
Good.
So thank you. I understand exactly what you're trying to say, what you've been saying and all along.
Good. So get rid of it.
Yeah. Gets rid of that hole that's inside.
Right, it's important.
Yeah.
I don't remember where exactly I heard it, if it was a satsang of Guru Raj, but it's helped me also with the same idea of finding compassion and kindness for the other. When I think about the other being this soul on their own path, with their baggage and their karma and their mind, and they're going through all that stuff which causes them to be like that, to speak like that, to act like that. So it helps me to just be kinder and not so upset by it, because I feel like we're all kind of a mess, you know? It's like we're all walking a path and we're in different places on our own path.
Look, and
that helps to find that compassion.
And it is, you know, you can be sure about one thing, which is whatever happens in your life, has to do with you.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, you always ask, what does this event has to do with me? What is it that this event is asking me to respond, you know? Because it's not that that person should not be there or should not be behaving like that, and I believe he should not be behaving like that, but I am compassionate of him. No. If he is there behaving like that, it's because it's needed, because if not, he would not be there. Simple as that.
How do you?
So, what is it that this happening is asking me to do? So you don't look at where you have no power, which is outside. You look at where you have some power, which is what is it asking from me? This situation. What is it asking from me? And if you ask that question honestly, you'll find out, and then you just do it. And in fact, you know, it's not that you don't get angry, you know, you don't get angry, and you might, you know, find someone that is suffering, and you might feel he's suffering, but that will never make you angry. Will never make you angry. So it's not like suppressing your anger, you know, like saying, I am angry, but no, it is like that you realize that if he is there, it's because it's needed. If not, it would not be there. Okay, it's making me angry. You don't deny your anger. You don't suppress it. You let it out, but you use that energy to find out precisely. You get angry with anger to find out what is it asking from me. And here you can follow, you know, different situations, different circumstances might require different ways and forms. But you know, this, when you are angry, convinced about the bad behavior of someone, this is very practical. Because you will be projecting your own behavior for sure. For sure. But you know, some other circumstances, but when something outside creates something inside, don't think that you want to change the outside. Look at what that is asking from you, because if you find it and you do it, the outside will automatically change by the way.
Yeah, I'm approaching situations like that now, where it's like, if I catch myself really getting in my hearts, I just run, all right, what am I supposed to learn from this? You know?
What is
you know,
it?
what should I,
What is
what
this?
do I need to
What
learn
is it?
here?
What of this? What is for me? What is there for me?
Yeah.
Because they've put me this plate. So what is there for me? And then you ask it. Normally you find it quick, but you don't like what you find.
It's like, there was a sadhu that came across our paths for a couple of months, a couple of years ago, Brian, and he would come to Merrill's and do satsang. And he lived with us for 2 months, and it was an incredible experience. And like this, similar, he would say, he would phrase it where Auntie Matilda is your guru today. You know, like, look at that, like, they're your guru. What are the lessons I have to learn? What is this event teaching me? What is this experience teaching me for myself, about myself? But it was just a simple way of just saying, look at it like your guru, like this event.
Exactly. Well, in fact, it is your guru.
And then,
Because the real guru is the living guru, and the
Right.
living guru speaks through, is omnipresent. It speaks from every mouth, even through the wasp that bites you that very moment.
and he took it, Ramon, to the point that at the time it was hard for me to understand, but it wasn't after a while. That he would give examples of horrendous things that were happening to him while he was traveling around the country in a van and sleeping on the road and no money and begging, the whole thing. So he had all these experiences. And he'd explain some of them that he should be really upset. He should be really upset. But he was grateful. So he was in a state that not only did he take that adverse event, use it as his guru, but then find gratitude. And sometimes even communicate the gratitude. That was really something to me. And that's like really taking it all the way,
Yeah,
right?
grateful for the lesson.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I had a relationship with my dad for many years. Was just like a love-hate, but it's an anger, a relationship of anger that was at my dad. But later in his life, when I was taking care of him, it started changing. Then I started seeing him through this anger, why he was angry and why I was angry at his response. And now when I look at him, I look at him in far different eyes than I ever did before. So to me, the anger actually was a learning tool for me.
Yeah.
And it really kind of helped me, especially in my relationship with my dad before he died and now that he's been gone for a while. So I found it very helpful.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's typical that daughters and sons are angry with their fathers. That's kind of the 99.999% of the cases, you know. So it's part of the educational process and the mechanisms that are part of this particular form of life in evolution. Because at the end,
Right.
this is just a form of life in evolution.
Pull the string and see what happened to them.
Hmm?
I said, pull the string and see what happened to your the parents and what.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
what their parents
what
did to
they
them
went
and so
through
forth, right?
Like
and
you
what
said,
were
if
the past
this
in
person was in this situation.
Exactly. So when you look it from above and you see the process,
Exactly.
well, you know, you suddenly those things, those buildings that look so big,
Exactly.
they are in reality very little, no? Like the difference between seeing a building of Manhattan from below or from the plane leaving JFK.
Right, like we're
That
not,
they look
yeah,
very little.
exactly.
While if you are in the street, they look terribly big.
My mother told a story about a good friend that when she was little, about her good friend who was complaining about her mother. And her mother said to her, don't complain to me, complain to my ancestors. And I thought, wow, I was little and I still learned that very early in life, but isn't it true, right? What happened to her mother was probably done, as we said, pull the string. and see
Yeah,
what
for the
happened.
string, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
and that's the process of evolution. And this means that
Mhm.
you have inherited traits that you have to deal with them, but that's why you chose in the first place that body, those
Exactly.
traits,
Mhm.
and those parents, because that is the lessons
You have to learn, exactly.
So give thanks to your parents that gave you those traits that were the ones you needed in this particular process or stage of evolution in which the particular form of life that you are experiencing is from the relative point of view.
And listen, if we didn't, if our, you know, wasn't for our parents, whatever we got, we wouldn't be here now. So,
Yeah.
you know, no, it's true. Whatever it is that drew us here.
Well, I think it's easy to dwell on what we feel is wrong rather than ever recognize, you know, what was
That's-
right all along, every generation back. Whatever struggles our ancestors had, passed good and bad on, it was good.
More questions? Or we call it a wrap?
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, always a no
Yes,
class.
yes.
Vermont.
And next week is meeting, no class.
I don't know.
Next week, Thursday. This is our
Thursday.
last class.
Well, we will have satsangs, but not like within the topic of
Right.
teacher training.
Right.
Okay.
You know, we have advanced a bit in this. This is the 7th, but we'll get back on them in March.
What's next week?
Next
Ramon,
week, we're
was
having a
Courage-
meeting.
Did he speak like this in person when he was
Oh,
a
it's
teacher?
pretty-
He has such a, he's
More or less.
He's a character, you know?
More or less. More or less the same. No big difference.
Because he really wants to try to get everyone. So if it's daytime, he's starting at 12 noon with a meditation into a satsang, 2 p.m. meeting.
He said that he sent it out. He sent it out today.
Yeah, there was an email
That's
today.
right.